Ah, sleep. We all want it, but for so many of us, it can be really hard to come by. And that's where Zolpidem comes in. It promises a quick fix for those frustrating, sleepless nights. But this pill, one of the most popular in the world, has a way more complicated story. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this medication and look at both the good and well, the really bad.
And that's the big question, isn't it? Millions of people take this pill, hoping for a night of peaceful rest. But what are they potentially getting themselves into? What are the hidden dangers that come along with that promise? Let's just say the answer might surprise you.
Okay, so first up, the famous sleeping pill. Let's talk about why Zolpidem got so incredibly popular. I mean, it's all about the promise of a quick fix for a problem that drives people crazy, insomnia. You've probably heard of it as Ambien, right? That's its most famous brand name. Now, technically, it's what's called a Z drug. It's not a classic benzo like Xanax, but it does a very similar job. And the key thing to know is that it was designed for one thing and one thing only: short-term use for people who have trouble falling asleep. So how does this stuff actually flip the off switch in your brain? Well, the science behind it is pretty cool, and there's a really simple way to think about it. It's like slamming on your brain's own brake pedal. To get how Zolpidem works, you first got to know about something called GABA. Think of GABA as your brain's built-in chill-out button. When GABA gets released, it tells all your buzzing neurons to just slow down. It's the natural chemical that lets you unwind and eventually drift off to sleep. And here's where Zolpidem comes into play. It doesn't actually create some new artificial feeling. What it does is find those GABA receptors in your brain and basically supercharges them. It makes your brain way more sensitive to the GABA that's already there. So it's not just tapping the brake pedal, it's pushing it all the way to the floor, leading to sedation pretty darn fast. All right, but this is where the whole story takes a very sharp, very dark turn. Because that same power to shut down the brain also opens the door to some really serious and frankly scary risks. This is the other side of that double-edged sword. And this slide really says it all. You take the pill expecting one thing: 8 hours of peaceful, quiet sleep. But what can happen for some people is a terrifying reality where you're kind of half asleep doing incredibly complex things with zero memory of it later. Yeah, these are called complex sleep-related behaviors, and they are no joke. We're talking about people getting in their cars and driving on the highway, cooking full meals, making phone calls, you name it, all while they are completely asleep. And the most chilling part? The next morning, it's a total blank. They have no idea any of it ever happened. Now, these aren't just a few wild stories from the internet. This is so real and so well documented that the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, stepped in and slapped its most serious warning label on these drugs. It's called a black box warning, and trust me, they do not hand those out unless the side effects can be life-threatening. And here it is, straight from the FDA. This isn't just about doing something weird or embarrassing. This is about things that can result in, and I'm quoting, serious injuries and death. I mean, sleep driving is the obvious one. That can be fatal for you and for anyone else on the road. It's as serious as it gets. So after hearing all that, you're probably thinking, is there any way to use this stuff safely? And the answer is yes, but you have to treat it like the powerful tool it is. It's not a vitamin. It has a very strict set of rules. And this right here is rule number 1. It's the big one. You do not take Zolpidem unless you can guarantee a full 7 to 8 hours of sleep. No exceptions. Taking it for a 3-hour nap or when you have an early flight, that is a recipe for disaster and dramatically increases the risk of all those dangerous side effects.
And here are the other ground rules. This is not a pill you take on the couch while you finish a show. You take it right as you are getting into bed. Period. Remember, it's for short-term help, not a forever fix. You always start with the lowest dose that works. And this is interesting. Women actually process the drug slower than men, so they often need a lower dose to avoid feeling groggy the next day. Also, it works best on an empty stomach. And finally, super important. If you've been on it for a while, you can't just stop cold turkey. That can be dangerous.
Okay, everybody listen up. If you take away only one safety tip from this entire explainer, please let it be this one. You never ever mix Zolpidem with alcohol. It is absolutely non-negotiable. Both of them slow down your central nervous system, and when you combine them, you are playing with fire. The risk of everything from memory loss to your breathing slowing down, or even stopping completely, goes through the roof. It can be a fatal mix.
So it all comes down to this really tricky balance, right? On one hand, Zolpidem really works. For someone just desperate for a night of sleep, it can feel like a miracle. But on the other hand, it's a powerful drug that walks this razor-thin line between a peaceful night and a total nightmare. Which leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. Is that quick fix really worth the risk?